Hello and welcome to 100% Real with Ruby. We are going deep into the truth behind what really makes a killer physique and why so many people get trapped in the cycle of, what would you call it, Tracey? Like wanting to clean up because you let yourself go a little bit too much.
Yeah, I don't know. It's hard because, you're always seeing all these images in social media, and now with all the influencers and stuff online, all your fed is, this is what you're supposed to look like. I know that the whole skinny thing is making an awful return. Um, and just, yeah, you think, oh, I've got to look like that or whatever. And it's constantly this, sort of mental game around food and exercise and what do I need to do to try and look like that. And it's just an ongoing thing, really. And it's really just trying to get you out of that, not out of that headspace, but yeah, in a different mindset.
Yeah, and when you came across my social media, I was speaking a lot about perimenopause, about cardio, about focusing on strength, on focusing on muscle. And there was obviously something there that hit a nerve. Like, that is what I need. I'm spending all this time in and out of diets, but I don't look like I lift. I remember on our first call, you said, I've been in the gym. I'm doing all the right things. I questioned you about your leg training. You're like, I'm training really hard. I'm doing the right exercises. And I think you thought it was mostly just a food issue. I'm like, no, we need to adjust your training. That is where we need to look, because you can be training really hard and feel like you're training hard, but what's your form like? Then we looked at your split squats. You weren't actually doing any single leg movements from what I can recall.
I don't think so. I think I was doing like squats on the Smith machine. I sort of avoid split leg stuff like the plagues. My balance is not great, but yeah, staying away from all that sort of stuff. I was doing a lot of squats. Can't remember what other machines and stuff I was using. Probably the leg extension, but yeah, just probably more a lot of cardio as well too.
Oh.
And I was probably doing stuff that I saw online, like little kickbacks and stuff like that. That I thought, yep, they're going to grow my booty, all that sort of stuff. But yeah, when I first discovered you, I was like, probably, I don't know, it was like the start of 2024 maybe, I can't remember, but by that stage I'd been dieting for about a year or so. Me and my partner had sort of got to a point where we'd sort of got happy in our relationship, packed on a few kilos, got nice and cozy, and then sort of looked at each other one day and said, we need to do something about this. So we started with the extremes. Like, we were on the man shakes, the lady shakes, and crazy, ridiculous, like 1,000 calorie sort of days, just trying to like shed the weight and stuff. So yeah, that went on for about a year or so, and then I lost weight. I did, and I slimmed down, but again, I didn't look like the physique I wanted. I didn't have any muscle. I didn't have any shape to me. I was just a skinnier version of whatever I had, prior. Yeah, so I guess when I discovered you, I was like, oh, I like this girl's philosophy, like, just build muscle. You were like, go for muscle building before anything else. Don't focus on fat loss. I was like, shit, that's actually really good. I'd love to get out of that constantly thinking about fat loss and dieting phase. And I was watching you for months, and then I finally reached out to you and like, I'm interested in like, seeing what we can do together, because this is where I've been, this is where I want to go. But yeah, it was so good just to reach out to you and start coaching, getting you to coach me.
I feel like a huge part of what you just said there is the fact that you saw these exercises online, and I'm guessing that's why you thought you were doing all of the right things. And this is where a lot of people say they're doing all the right things, and that's because I'm guessing they were experts or people that looked the part, showing you, hey, this is the way that you get the body. But even if it wasn't all that fluff foo-foo that she was doing, and she was doing the right stuff, that in itself isn't enough to give you the body that you want. And that's something that Tracey learned probably within the first 2-3 weeks of us coaching and sending me videos. What did you discover then?
Yeah, I mean, with sending you my videos and stuff and just you checking my form, I was just like completely changed, like what I was doing, what I thought I was doing in the past. It was correct or something I'd seen online. No idea. Even just as simple as, I think one of the things that stood out for me was using, I think it was the leg curl machine or leg extension, and just the way I sat in the machine, how far back or forward I was, where my hands were I pulling in, all that sort of thing. That was major for me, because before that I didn't know. I just got on the machine, loosely held onto the handles, and off she went. But yeah, with you, and when I sent you videos, you're like, no, you need to have your knees over at this point, and you need to pull those arms, those hands in and lock in. Completely changed everything, and I really started to feel it, and I was able to, sort of start building and moving on from there.
I feel like one thing that changed was when you mentioned that you were starting to see lines on your quads, and that made you more engaged in the process as well. That was a little bit into the journey when it was on the leg extension, I remember, because you said that it felt funny or funky. Then I'm like, first of all, wear straps on it as well so you can lock yourself in and actually make those reps failure reps, because that was something that you found really difficult. And then on the leg curl, that's when I remember the most, because you weren't getting the full stretch at the top. You weren't focusing on the tension of the hamstrings. As soon as I asked you, once we made the tweaks, do you feel the difference?
Oh,
you
yeah.
felt the difference in between actually hinging into it, getting the full stretch and keeping it there instead of allowing it to go elsewhere. And that's why just increasing the weight itself and seeing progress on paper doesn't mean your muscles are progressing. One of the biggest game changers, which is why you can be training quote unquote to failure, but not actually taking the muscles where they need to go, is the epiphany that you had on that leg press. I feel like creating this context of just how important training is to this, because you're wanting a body that looks lean, shapely, sculpted. The only thing that's going to do that is building muscle. And if your training isn't in a place to do that, you can focus on all of the lady shakes, man shakes, calorie this, low carb that, let's diet this. You're just going to keep looking the same over and over again, if not worse, because you're stuck in this yo-yo, because nothing out inside of manipulating nutritional variables is going to change your body the way that training does. The only thing that dieting does is it manipulates your body fat, but that doesn't matter if you still don't have that muscle there, which is also the metabolism, your strength, your confidence. It gives you something to focus on that empowers you, that strengthens you, that has longevity to it, because you don't want to be losing fat or focusing on dieting for the rest of your life, and you don't want to keep doing diets.
Yeah, exactly. The leg press thing. Yeah. So I remember, like, for weeks and weeks, you were just telling me you got to pull in. I had the straps. I got all the straps and everything. Love the straps. Can't do without my straps these days. But yeah, you were like, you need to grab onto the handles and really pull yourself in, and then that's going to help you increase your depth as well, because you're locking yourself in. So yeah, I was like, for weeks, I knew I was doing it wrong. I was sending you videos. You're like, yep, still not getting there. You've still got to remember to lock in. And then one day I just had this epiphany, and I'm like, oh my God. So originally I was just like tightening my wrists on the handles. I'm like, okay, well, that's me locking in. Yep. And then one day I realized I had to fully pull my arms in to the point where they were tensed. And I was like, oh my God, this is a game changer. And then my depth just started to increase after that, and my weights went all the way up.
Kept increasing and increasing and increasing. And just to add on to this fact, because I still want you to take this further for what you've noticed, like, since that epiphany. One of the other ladies in the group, she realized that she was just aiming for a rep target, which is where I say you can be hitting your reps, but just because you're progressing per se in increasing reps doesn't mean you're actually progressing. Are you taking them to failure, or are you just going into the set with, okay, I'm going to hit 12 reps? That's why 3 times 12 doesn't work, because in your head, you're going in for 12 reps. Take it to 15, take it to more. That's something else that Tracey learned. Ever since this other client learned that one thing, her weights on everything continued. They went from being pretty steady to they increased for 4 weeks in a row by a lot, to now they're at that like steady point. That is where change happens. And that's where you then hit. What did you notice once you hit that?
Yeah. Oh my God, it was a complete game changer. So I was doing just, Ruby's got 10 reps or whatever on here. I'm only hitting the 10. Whether I was getting to failure or not, or whether it was even hard for me, I think my 10, cool, I've done it. I've completed the logbook. And then you're like, no, you need to start going to failure. You've got the depth, you've got the, form in check now. So I started to literally like go to the point where I was grunting and groaning on the leg press. Like I actually enjoy that now. I openly go to the gym and grunt as much as I need to push out those extra reps. But yeah, I mean, look, I've noticed so much change in my legs and my butt since I was working with you, Ruby. Yeah, and I think that's all about, building the muscle, having the right form, pushing to failure. It's uncomfortable. It's not pleasurable to get to the failure point, but I think
that's actually a really good point. It's not comfortable getting to the failure point, and because of that, people make up for that with let's just train more and more and more and more. But the more that you add to your day, to your week, to your program, and if you're trying to push everything to failure, push everything to the point where it's actually going to change your body, the thought of having to do that for all those exercises every single day for the whole week, who wants to do that? Like, well, many people will probably say, me, I want to just do it all, go hard, go home. But when you're actually doing it, that is exhausting. You have to recover from that. And mentally, that is something else that what I've been told since being put onto a program that doesn't have like a billion exercises, that they actually feel like they can give their focus to the session and not feel like they're just rushing through to get to the end, because they can already sense how exhausted they're going to feel after the workout. How about you?
Yeah, I think I've been also like making sure I take, adequate rest in between. And I think that's what helps you. You know that you can push hard and get to that point of failure. And then you take that rest and you make sure I take it like at least a minute, if not more, on some of the bigger exercises. These days, I think I'm taking like 2 minutes in between each set.
You started actually prioritizing your fueling.
Oh, yes. Oh, my God. Previously, I'd probably work out with minimal food in my stomach before I went to the gym. But yeah, once I started training with you and we were talking about carbs and how important they were, I think I first started adding in like, little rice cakes and banana and honey. And then I decided that wasn't enough for me. So then I switched to oats, banana and honey, and that's my go-to pre-workout now. Every time before my workout, I have that and I'm fueled and ready to go, and it helps me push throughout. Sometimes I've even, because I've seen some of the stuff that you do, I take a little, I haven't done it for a while, but I've had a little cheeky lolly in between just to push through a little bit extra on some of those bigger days. But yeah, definitely got to eat beforehand. I can't go to the gym anymore without eating. Even if I'm not even doing weight training or I'll jump on the treadmill or something, at least give me a banana or something before I go in. But yeah, definitely oats, banana and honey before I hit the weights.
It's so funny. It's crazy when you go from how much weight can I lose? How fast can I transform? I just want to change my body as fast as possible to, I want to focus on feeling well fueled. I want to make sure that I can perform at my best. I want to make sure that I can keep performing through the whole session. Everything changes. You show up better. You want to do better. This is where Tracey was the star student. She was asking every single question under the sun about, but how about knees like this and my quads like this? What should I do with this thing? And all the mental masturbation was over her training, not the type of rice or type of potato or the best thing to eat right before she sleeps. It was all in the training. And if you saw Tracey now compared to before, and even her mindset, the fact that she will send the whole group a screenshot. Can you see my hamstring? That is what we want, because most of us want to have that shape and sculpt. She literally just pointed it out because of these very things. And I guess rewinding it back a little then, what was the moment you realized I can't keep doing it this old way?
I think when I really just started to see the progress and I was like, hang on, this stuff works. And eating all the carbs and fueling and just I was eating at maintenance and I had so much energy to get through the day. And I was, I think, like I said, just feeling like a badass. Like I love my training. Like I literally cannot wait because I train from Fridays to Monday. So I do a 4-day training block in a row. So that's the only time I get. But I am so excited by the time Thursday night rolls around. I'm like, yes, bring it on. Tomorrow is my start of my training week. I love it. Absolutely love it. And I think just, seeing that little bit of, you see it and you feel it and just, it's empowering to push a higher weight and progress. I mean, my RDLs just went, stronger and stronger and stronger.
What did we have to work on then? The very things that I am preaching about. You cannot expect to change a body if you don't know how to brace, you don't know how to use your lats, you don't know how to use your core or your glutes. Yeah.
There was a lot of cues I got from you, from some of the videos and stuff you posted, where you're like, butt out, don't lead with your arms, a lock in. You're basically pushing back with your butt. And then there was something about, I think, making sure your feet are grounded and your toes are pushed into the ground. I was doing I had the deadlift slippers and everything going. I reckon the RDLs and probably the leg presses and stuff, I've just, I can see the gains. I can see the gains that I've made from doing all that sort of stuff.
And this is the stuff that, if you think about how mundane and how difficult it is to do the nutritional changes, this is the stuff that gets you excited, that gets you in the process, staying in the process while all the food shifts are happening. There's a really funny part here that we're going to come to very soon on Tracey's current fat loss phase, which is hilarious when most of us spend most of our lives trying to diet, not really seeing results. Within just a couple of weeks, she's already seen some loss with a social event, but with the social event aside, she probably would have seen more loss in just a couple of weeks, where most of us struggle. This is where I say, if you've been dieting for at least 3 months without seeing changes, you're dieting wrong, because you can see amazing drastic changes in literally 3 months when you're dieting. I can't say the same about building muscle, because even 12 months is pushing it, because muscle grows really freaking slow, and that's why people aren't willing to stay the process. The first part is, what were the rules you lived, the rules, the beliefs of food and training beforehand, of dieting, and then compare that to what your training is like now, and then we can talk a little bit into this side of the process.
So you mean before I started training with you? How it was? Yeah. Okay. Well, like I sort of mentioned at the start, when my partner and I decided to sort of get in shape and do whatever, we were on the lowest calories. We were on the man and the lady shakes. We were eating pre-packaged meals because we knew what was in them, from one of those food delivery companies. But things that were only 300 calories per meal or something like that. I would just obviously hungry most of the time. I mean, I was never really anti-carbs or anything like that. I always love my carbs regardless. So I remember when you were telling me eat more carbs, and we increased. I remember coming to you asking for extra calories, because I'm like, I need more now. I knew I was training hard and I could feel it, and I was getting hungrier, and I needed something extra to help me push. So we did increase my maintenance calories, and I don't think much happened on the scale at the time.
This is the thing. She was bought into the process from the get-go. She realized she had enough and she had to change. What actually brought you into the process? That's actually a really great question to ask, because a lot of people are still very hesitant in this phase, but you went right on in. You were asking the training questions. You wanted the fuel. You were ready to do the work, which is why you made such amazing changes. Tell me more.
I guess having gone through that dieting phase prior and just sort of having enough of it, to be honest. Like I said, I saw changes at the time. I slimmed down, but I wanted more than that. I want to live in diet mode forever. I wanted to, change my body. I wanted to build muscle. I saw the likes of Ruby and other people online with physiques that I admired. So I'm like, I want to look better. I want to look a bit more toned, toned. That's what I look like. So yeah, so for me, I mean, and I knew, like, obviously, because you're online as well, like, I was committing to this and I was going to do it. I'm paying good money here, so I'm going to make sure I'm committing to the process as best I can. And I think because you're online or doing it online, it made me ask all the questions more, because I couldn't just rely on seeing you, next week at the gym or whatever. I had to ask all the questions that I could normally ask someone face to face, probably, but I had to do that, and I had to send you videos so you can see. And I just wanted to do better. That's why I asked all the questions, and I wanted you to pull me up on my form and tell me, because I wanted to see the progress and I wanted to see the changes.
Yeah, and that's exactly why. But amongst all of that, you let go of the scale.
Yes, I did.
That is a really good place to pivot to now. What and when did you notice you stopped needing reassurance from the scale? What happened around the scale? I want to know everything from your perspective before the diet you did, during the diet you did, and then when you started with me through our process, which kind of leads to our December meeting when you came to my gym.
So I guess, I mean, obviously before my partner and I started dieting, we could see the physical changes. I don't know if I was weighing myself at the time. I've always sort of been one to have a scale and use it and that sort of thing. But yeah, obviously when we would, prior to that, actually, I was with a different coach, and I was being told to weigh myself every single day. Yeah, I had that in my mindset that that's the way you do it. You weigh yourself every day and you see the changes and that sort of thing. But yeah, so when we started dieting, I was going through the cycle of recording my weight every single day, yada, yada, yada. And then when I was with you, I think it took me a few months to get rid of the scale. Because I was like, no, I've got to check in. I've got to do this. I've got to do that. But yeah, I don't know at what point it was, but I was just like, and I think it was your encouragement and the posts online and stuff and your messages that you reinforce all the time about ditch the scale. And I listened to other podcasts that you had where other clients had done it, or you'd mentioned other clients who just given the scale away. And I'm like, yeah, I need to do this because I can't keep looking at that thing.
If someone's listening to this podcast and relying on you to help them make that shift, because it is probably one of the biggest things that allowed you to stop what you noticed with everything else, with your mental load, with the food, with how light it all felt.
Oh yeah, like, I mean, it just completely changed everything. Like, you weren't, I mean, look, everyone knows if you jump on the scale, it fluctuates. Your weight can fluctuate at any given moment. And, it can affect your mood for the day. It can affect, what you decide to do and how you depend on, setting the day ahead. It can really put you down depending on the day. And sometimes it can put you up. You're like, yes, I've gone lower or whatever. But yeah, just getting rid of it was so refreshing and not having to think about it. I just remember putting it away for months and going, no, I'm not looking at that thing. And I was just really able to hone in on my training, my food, tracking my food. I still track my food. I think it's a great tool for, keeping myself in check. But yeah, as far as the scale goes,
that's focusing on the stuff that actually matters, because the food is the fuel, the food is the nourishment, and it becomes less tedious once you develop a routine around it, which is something we did. We developed a routine around it where you feel best with your pre-workout, your post-workout. Allows innately for its own flexibility because you know where to fit things in. Just like when you went out for that pub sandwich, it's like, well, this is what I had for the day so far. This is what I have left over. So I can enjoy this pub sandwich, which was like as big as your head. It still fit within the day's context, but you wouldn't know that. You'd probably spiral, think you binge ate if you didn't have that context there before to know, hey, this actually fits in. And I think that's also where a lot of people end up avoiding carbs without realizing that the carbs are probably the lowest calorie part, aside from the salad of the bread. If you get a fatty meat, if you're getting cheese, if you're getting mayo, if you're getting aioli, all that stuff is higher than the actual bread itself. Whether you've ever went to get like a naked salad versus a bread roll, the naked salad, I'm hungry like an hour later. The bread roll, you stay satisfied. It's not just about the calories in that meal and trying to be clean and fat loss friendly at that one meal, how does that one meal impact everything else? And you learned that lesson too, especially when we then brought up the alcohol conversation. You wanted to start feeling your best, which is what instigated these changes. And that's the same with the scale, because that wasn't helping you perform at your best because there was that lingering thought in your head.
That's right. I was always thinking about, you know, what's my number going to be tomorrow or whatever. And then once I sort of, I just pushed myself around that, and I told myself, you're doing this I wasn't just doing this for muscle gain or, you know, trying to tone up or whatever. I mean, I'm doing this for my future self. I'm doing this for my 7-year-old self. I want to be strong enough and mobile enough when I'm an old granny to be. So what I'm doing now, I know it's not going to happen overnight, and I'm still far from probably where I want to be physically. And that's fine, because it's not just about aesthetics. It's also about being strong and fit when I'm 7 years old and being able to, you know, hang out with my grandkids and still travel and do everything else I want to do. And, you know, thankfully I've got my partner as well, who is also into all that stuff as well. Like, I encouraged him to join the gym originally because I was into the gym when I met him. And we've got each other for support. So, I mean, it's massive to have that in your life, someone who gets, you know, is sort of on the same wavelength as you. So it's really good to have that support as well.
I want you to talk about the epiphany on the treadmill and what we were talking about there. But before you do, there was a moment at the gym where this lady decided to be a little princess and pick up little 12.5 kilo dumbbells for her incline press. I'm like, bro, come on, you got more in you than that. So we got the 15s, and what did you learn about yourself that day?
Oh my God, I learned that I needed to drive with my legs, for starters, because I was not using those legs to drive. And now in most of my upper body moves, I'm using those legs, hell for leather, to push that extra weight. That was one thing I learned. And that I can go harder and I can push. I think in the end, my incline bench got up to like 17.5 kilo dumbbells, which I was rapt about. But
That was the moment that you said, it's the first time that I actually saw Ruby training in person. You mentioned that you actually got to see how hard I train in the faces that I pull. And I remember because I think I was on the leg press or something.
Yeah.
And you saw how much I was actually putting the oomph up and amping myself up to get to those failure reps, which is kind of the same as what Tracey did with the leg press, where she was going to failure, not really, until she pulled herself in and she got so much more. That is also the same as when Tracey was saying that she went in not as much fueled to now prioritizing and wanting to make sure she maintains the performance. You can be training to quote unquote failure, but your muscles are not getting anything out of it because of these other elements. You're not amping yourself up. You're not bracing. You're not pulling yourself in. You're not getting yourself fully prepared for the set. You're not fueling yourself before or after the session to recover from it.
I think the other thing we did that day as well, which was the squat technique. We fixed my squat technique on the Smith. So that was really good just to have you there. Like, I mean, I was fangirling hard that day when I met you. I was like, oh my God, I'm meeting her best. And I wanted to take you home
too, because I love meeting you guys.
I wanted to take you home in my suitcase, to be honest, but it wasn't possible. But I think the other thing we did that day as well was was it lateral raises? I remember I was like picking up, I don't know, 2.5s or 3 kilos or something. And when you showed me how to do it properly, I think you dropped me down to like 1.5 kilos, because the form, and when you showed me properly, I was like, oh my God, these are killing me. You're like, yeah, we need to drop the weight down now. Like, that was a really
that's 6 pounds. That's 6 pounds. That's 3 kilos. Like, that's not even the 5 pounds that people usually grab. Once you get that form down, you will notice the difference with your shoulders. You're not going to be progressing weights very quickly, and it can become very disheartening when the weights aren't ticking up, or when, like Tracey found, when she actually got herself to that limit, the weights were going up and down and up and down and up and down. And that's where, okay, well, we just need to keep pushing a little bit more, trying to force it out. But then that's where we then shifted to, we did strength reps for the beginning, and then we did some higher reps. And that was allowing her to, okay, we still got that strength element there, but we're accumulating volume for the muscle tissue growth that's there as well. Programming is an art form. You can't just slap stuff at a piece of paper or follow an app and think that it's going to progress you if it's not getting feedback from you, if it's not seeing these things along the way. That is what changes the body. And then we had a chat on the treadmill, and you were talking about just how much you see now that you're outside of the, I just want to lose weight as fast as possible. Tell me a little bit more about that.
Yeah, I remember saying to you that I'm so glad to be out of that space or that headspace, and that I just wanted to keep trying to build the muscle and eat the food and not stay away from dieting for as long as possible. Yeah, and I was saying how sad it is. Well, not sad, but I mean, everyone's got their own, sort of goals and stuff. But yeah, it was just good to be out of that headspace. And like I said, that was your whole philosophy is what brought me to you in the first place. This whole, you're telling even some other clients of yours, you don't need to start in fat loss. You start building, we get you into that space. You learn how to do all the things. I just love that messaging so much. And it was such a relief to see that from someone. Which is what completely drew me to you from the get-go. And has just helped me hugely just with my training and eating and all that sort of stuff and mindset.
Even if you have fat to lose, I would argue that you don't start in fat loss for the very reason, and that's why I agree that it is sad. Because if you reflect on your history of attempts, on your history of all of this stuff, what has been your focus the whole time? And where has that led you? You are not going to be successful in fat loss if you're drained from thinking about it all the time, if that's been your only focus, if you've always had to make the sacrifices, if you've worn yourself out of calorie counting, and especially if you haven't learned how to focus on the stuff that actually matters, like Tracey has, that's going to be a very difficult game to play, because that is and will always be your only focus. Or what's actually exciting you in this? Because there's nothing exciting about going to bed hungry. There's nothing exciting about knowing that there are days that the scale's going to still go up when you're doing everything right. There's nothing exciting about the days where you're going to have to say no to your favorite everythings. And then if you have a track history of gaining it back all the time, that's going to even sabotage you from being able to stick to it, because in your head, you're like, well, I always fail anyway. So then you're going to have self-sabotaging happening underneath, which is probably what was happening with you the whole time as well. I'm not going to just assume that, but I'm guessing that's what happened, because it happens to the best of us. And then compared to now, what's that shift?
Yeah, I think, knowing that this isn't like a short-term thing, this is forever. I'm not just doing this for the next 12 weeks and I'm going to give up, or, until I see my physique change the way I want it to change and give up. It's not about that. This is a lifestyle, and this is my lifestyle now. This is who I am. It's my identity. I identify as someone who wants to be fit and healthy. So I think that's where my mindset is at, that, and as I said earlier, I'm doing this for the long term, to get me to my 70s where I can still walk around and get up and not be wheelchair or, wheel frame bound or anything like that. So I know that this, like I said, I might not look the way I want to look exactly now, but at the same time, I'm not in a rush. I've got plenty of years ahead of me. I'm doing this for my future self.
This is the part that I also find really funny, because now you're like, why am I doing this fat loss phase? You realize how hard it actually is when you do a fat loss phase right. So for everyone out there who has been dieting their whole lives, you're not actually dieting for results. You're just dieting for the sake of dieting, because that's kind of the only thing that you know. If you were dieting for results, you would see results in a short time frame, because it is freaking hard. And Tracey is now realizing that it is hard effort, in her own words as well, because I wrote those words down. You won't want to be trying to lose weight your whole life, and it is impractical to, it is impossible to, and it's unrealistic to, because that will just get you down to Benjamin Button size, but instead of in age, it's in scale weight, and that isn't a possibility. So what exactly is it that you are doing this whole time that you're dieting if you haven't yet got results? She didn't go crazy at events. She's been able to actually hold herself to this because she didn't start in fat loss and she didn't ask for when's the next diet. We've been working for like over a year before the dieting, but it was like a year
and a half,
2 years, almost 2 years.
Yeah.
And not once did she ask for a fat loss phase except for this event. And I set it off the get-go. We'll deal with it when it comes. That's going to be there soon. And I 100% agree that you're ready for it. I said it right off the bat because she put in the work. She's in a place where she's going to be responsive to it and she's going to be able to stick to it. Because fat loss is not easy. It's effective. It's just no one is doing it correctly. Tell me a little bit more about that before we tie it up with some fire questions, actually.
Okay. Yeah, so I guess, yeah, like, I mean, I'm currently in a fat loss phase, and it's hard. I miss my maintenance calories. But yeah, I don't want to be here forever. I want to get in and get out. And then I want to seriously get back to building the muscle again. I'm hoping to, get to a point where I'm revealing, somewhat of what I've built with Ruby over the last 1.5 to 2 years. I know it's under there and I can see it. But yeah, just I'm not going to be here forever. I'm just going to get in to a point where I'm feeling good, and then I'm going to get straight back out again because I want to get back to the main thing that, I want to do and I want to continue to do, which is build muscle. And I don't want to live in fat loss forever because it's not fun.
And that is what creates body composition change. Keeping the muscle, losing the body fat in a fat loss phase, but spending most of the time building it and focusing on the things that actually move the needle. So I guess the first biggest fire question is, if you could sit down with a version of yourself from 3 to 4 years ago, who was struggling with all of this and wondering why she was doing all the right things, but was not seeing what she thought she should for what she was doing, what's the first thing you tell them to stop doing immediately? But also, what's the first thing you would tell them to instigate change, to hire some help? Because I'm guessing at some point we feel like we can do it all on our own. We should be able to do it all on our own. But as we've kind of mentioned here, because you didn't think that you need that training element, but I had to try to show you that this is what you're missing. I want you to dig into that part mostly too.
Yeah, I think, I thought I was doing all the right things before I came to you. Like I said, I wasn't sort of seeing the physical changes that I wanted or the tone or whatever. But yeah, I think, hiring a coach or getting a personal trainer or just someone that can, talk you through how to do the exercise, give you a structured program. Because I don't think I was changing everything up, because I sort of knew that you shouldn't really change things up when I was doing it all on my own. But was I doing the right things? Was I just doing the same things repetitively throughout the week, thinking, yep, I'm building, my legs because I'm doing squats twice a week or whatever I was doing. Half the stuff I probably never even touched before in the gym before I started coaching with you. Machines I'd never even sort of used properly, I should say, because I didn't know how to use them properly. I thought I did because I saw something online or I watched a short video or whatever. But yeah, the coaching has been great. And yeah, with Ruby, it really take people through the whole mindset thing, and you really dig deep and you ask the hard questions. Sometimes I didn't want to answer the questions, and I'm sure you picked up on that. But
I think that's an important part here as well to touch on too, because what did you see the value in all of that being? Because I'm guessing that is kind of the most boring, unsexy part of the process that has been maybe 90% responsible for the success, because that's what instigated a lot of the change.
Yeah, I think, as being as vulnerable as you can with your coach and in the check-ins, and just being as honest and as vulnerable as you can. Ruby is very supportive and will, help you see things in a different light that you didn't think. She's not going to beat you up over it because you went over your calories on the weekend or didn't do a session or whatever. But yeah, I think, definitely get into your check-ins, write as much as you can about your workouts and how they felt, what you were feeling, film stuff. I know it's not fun sometimes to film yourself in the gym. You might get people looking at you weird or whatever. But doing that, if you're doing it online with Ruby, then I mean, videos I think are a must, because how else are you going to know whether you're doing it right if she can't, look at your form?
Yeah. And these two kind of go hand in hand. What did you believe progress was supposed to look like week to week? And I guess if I reflect on, as soon as this is where most of us get tripped up. We see a lot of fast changes to start with, especially when you start with a coach and start doing things a certain way. In fat loss, you'll see fast changes for quite a longer period of time, because there's that like 12-week period and there's a fast change. But after that, voila. That's why people get stuck, because they're addicted to that fast change. And same with even just going into the different direction of getting stronger, there's like all those changes. When it starts to be, okay, you've leveled up now, so your rate of progress has leveled up, meaning it's going to be slower. There's what do you feel like success looked like before, which is going to be completely different to this part. But then when you get to that other side and you start to feel like nothing's really working, because I know what you said, but I'll let you explain it. What was the thing that kept going in your head to keep you riveted into the process, knowing that progress wasn't just going to show up in a 6-month, 8-month, 12-month period the way that you would love it to in your head?
Yeah. I mean, look, we all want results and we want them quickly, right? Human nature, I think. But yeah, for me, I think, with the progress, I guess I learned a lot about, the fact that your numbers aren't going to change every week. You're not going to be on a new PB every single week. It's hard to move from one weight to another sometimes. Obviously your lower body, you can probably push a little bit more. The upper body, good luck trying to move up the kilos on that.
Microplates, again, invest in the progress and things that matter. That's where the money should go, not in the next detox, but in microplates.
Yes, I love my little microplates. Yeah, it's good because with some of the upper body stuff, the jump from to the next, especially on the cable machines and stuff, you got a 2-3 kilo jump, which can feel like massive. You feel like you're never getting anywhere. So yeah, I just stick my little microplates on the machine and I've gone up an extra kilo. And then I'll push a little bit more. Yeah, I'm not really sure whether I've answered that question, Ruby.
What did progress look like before? It had nothing to do with the gym before in that sense, except feeling like you worked hard would probably be it. I don't know.
Yeah, just doing my workouts, going in, getting them done. That was progress, Whereas now it's going in, pushing myself, seeing progressive changes over the course of my program, whether that's weight increase, whether it's pushing the reps, whether it's, or actually I really took that one to failure. I couldn't barely breathe. Yeah, that's progress for me. And yeah, just not relying on the scale anymore as a sole method of me being, this is success, I guess.
What else changed once you stopped stepping onto that scale? I didn't dig into that one a little bit deeper.
Yeah, I guess because I stopped thinking about weight loss and fat loss, and I just wanted to.
It took that
get
moment.
Stronger. Mm-hmm. Yeah. I wanted to focus on the building the muscle and eating the food and increasing the carbs and getting more calories out of you if I could.
I find that until people actually toss the scale, even though you could easily pretend that you tossed the scale, which is something that you did as well. But it was, I could tell that there was something still haunting you. And then all of a sudden there was this huge change. And it's like, well, I actually got rid of the scale now. I thought that you got rid of it ages ago, but it was that one moment. Because even when it is just there hidden away in the house, you still know that you're going to step on that scale. You still know that it's lingering there in your mind. And that really impacts you. As much as people say use the scale, the thing is, if that's been your sole metric for so long, if that's been the controlling factor, if that's what you have measured as your progress marker, then it's going to be your biggest trap, your biggest cock blocker mentally. Until you can let go of that, it's almost like Alcoholics Anonymous. It's like if you can't let go of the scale, then there is that should be indicating some questioning there. And then going all into all that you can become through measuring the right things, the logbook, the training videos, the screenshots of, I got Tracey to send me all the screenshots she could because they used to make me so happy. And then I used to get it. And then she went on complimenting them, and a lot of people bash themselves in those videos. And then you go to complimenting yourselves for the changes you see. That is the biggest progress metric. So I guess that leads to the next one, which is kind of the last one. What is one habit that changed your life, but you hated doing it at first? I don't know if that would have anything to do with walking, but I'm very curious.
Is this about training or
anything fitness or health related?
One habit, I think. I love walking, so walking not an issue. But I do, try to hit my 10K steps a day. I guess, tracking's not fun, but I think it's necessary.
It stops going on the yo-yo.
Exactly. And it allows you to play around things and fit your little treats in. The other day I had one of my favourite chocolate bars, an Aero Mint bar, because I knew I had enough left in the day. I had a nice cup of tea. Yeah, I think, it's not fun, but yeah.
It was in tracking your food that you've been able to have the treats, because that wasn't you before. Before it was binging on the treats whenever your partner's kids came over. That was when you just let yourself loose. Whereas now it's no, I know that I can have a treat whenever the hell I want because I can just track it in and fit it.
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah. So I really appreciate you coming on for this, because it's such a game changer when you realize exactly what it is that you've been missing, and that it wasn't a mystery whatsoever. It's just that it's really hard to change. It's really hard to let go of something that has given us so much security and comfort, like the scale, like chasing weight loss. But once you get to this place where you don't want to be that person dieting on crazy ass calories to only gain it all back again and then have to repeat it and go through the same shitty process, never really feeling like you're getting anywhere, to feeling empowered, fueling yourself in the workouts, not feeling like you're starving and then craving sugar afterwards because now you've completely bottomed out your blood sugar levels. Like this stuff completely changes everything for you. What would you have to actually say now back to yourself at day one, which can kind of tie all of this up in what changed everything for you? What would you say to people who keep waiting until they feel ready for this, or they just want to lose the fat first, then go into building muscle? Just something that kind of ties all of this together.
I think, just don't be afraid to go in, whether that's getting a coach, whether that's, taking time away from the scale and just really focusing on, I guess, fueling correctly, being consistent. You really got to be consistent, like as much as you can, have little habits that are going to make you, do the things. So, I always put my clothes out the night before gym. Every night before gym, my clothes are out and my oats and that are ready to go in the morning when I get up. And look, if you have one bad day, don't write yourself off. Just get back into it the next day and just keep on going. And this is not something that's going to be, 5 weeks with Ruby and you're done. You're going to need to stay on it for a while, whether it's with Ruby or whatever else. But, fitness and health is a lifestyle thing. It's not a get in and get out, because, you can fall back to old habits if you don't continue doing what you've learned through the process.
And it wouldn't be that hard to stick with it if you actually become where you are now, because it's not hard to stick to it like it was before. And I would just tie it up with, when you realize that this is a forever thing, you'll stop watching yourself to the end, and your processes that you do when you're in a fat loss phase, when you're not in a fat loss phase, you'll actually give them the time they need to get the results that you desire from them, because people do not give them the desired time. They give fat loss too much time, but not what it actually needs to get results. So you're never really ever building muscle because you're not giving that enough time or enough food or enough anythings. And when you do a fat loss phase, you're not putting your body into fat loss mode to start with, because you're unable to actually get yourself into that position from all of the yo-yoing and flip-flopping. So you're priming yourself for more belly fat gain over time. So I hope this resonates with you. And if anything stands out, reach out to me, have a little chat with her if anything resonated. If you want to have a little, like, ask questions about how I work around things as well, she'll be happy to, like, just give you a little briefing on that, because it honestly changes the game. It's hard hearing it from someone who's trying to talk about it from, hey, this is what I do, versus, hey, I've actually went through it and it changed my life. If you are ready to finally change your life, this is the change you need. And please rate this a 5 stars if it benefited you. Ask me questions and shoot me a message on Instagram. I'd love to have a chat with you. Thanks. And you'll see me later. Bye.
Thank you.